we never planned this stuff. It just all kind of flows out.
Yeah, that worked out really well.
What we say to each other cannot be divisive.
Gosh, I just think that when we get so focused on walking the line and just miss so much of God's creativity.
We only created the Odd Show to have this conversation.
Right.
We're gonna say some bad things about stuff. If you're
Not bad things like,
if you're a huge Toby Mac
turn it off now.
For people who are struggling with why would a God of the universe care about me individually, you are his favorite. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is The Odd Show. Let's get right into it. Here's your hosts, Bruce Bugano and Thomas Hogan.
Hey, welcome to The Odd Show. It's been a little bit, and we are back. We're actually just talked about some changes that will happen probably this coming fall. So I just want to talk about that real quick for a minute. We're going to change the way that we put content out. Maybe by then we'll have a better platform than just YouTube Live. But this is working, except that I think YouTube hates creators most of the time. So
honestly have no idea what's going on there. I wish I did. I hear everyone talk about it. I don't understand it seems to me very arbitrary. Any idiot can get on YouTube and become YouTube famous, and then brilliant people can make the most content in the world and never become famous.
Right.
And then people like us that are nowhere near brilliant or lucky can just, flounder about.
we just, And then they take away like I was telling a friend the other day, I was like, we have a podcast. We put videos on YouTube, but we'll never be those guys that become just crazy, stupid, doing dumb things, making lots of money with YouTube because they changed their policy where you have to have 10,000 total views before you can monetize stuff now. And that means we would have to make 10,000 videos in order to have 10,000.
The cumulative effect. Listen, one view, well, if both of us view it, it's only 5,000. So when we hit 5,000 episodes, we can do, or not episodes, when we do 5,000 videos.
Wait, but that doesn't even mean that we'll make money. That just means that we can monetize stuff to be able to make money.
Right.
So even then,
it's a good way of looking at it.
It's like, anyway. But hey, before I get into that, I'm Bruce. This is Thomas. Say hi, Thomas.
G is silent.
The G is silent, and not in Thomas. Thomas's name is not spelt with G, but the Odd Show is spelt with the G, and the G is silent.
The G is silent and invisible in my name.
Right. So stuff this fall that we're going to go ahead and do. So we're going to go to a season type format. And what that means is I'm not exactly sure, but I know other people do seasons.
We don't know what the things mean that we say, but we do know that they are good things.
Right. We know that
they are important.
May or may not be doing them. More successful people may or may not be doing them. And we know that it's not an avenue towards success. But if the successful people are doing it, they're probably doing it for a reason. Probably because they're successful, not because they were getting successful. Probably because they decided,
right,
we're successful, we don't have to do things the way everybody else does now. Which is usually how that goes. So starting this fall, what we're going to do is we'll probably have a fall and a spring season, and we will take the summer off. And we will collect content, and we will make our shows, and we're going to introduce more interviews than we have had. We've had some, but like we just have these ideas of maybe inviting some entertainers and other people that have stuff to say. Maybe getting our wives to do a couple more episodes with people that they want to talk to.
Right, and I think that's going to go the direction of we don't have the audience to give them like, hey, we're going to give you a better platform.
Right.
But what we do have is great interest.
Right.
I am most interested in having this conversation with, say, you as an individual.
And it literally could be anyone. If you happen to stumble upon this and you're like, hey, I got something to say about that, well, you're in. You are in.
I think there will be like there may be a little bit of pre-screening, but for the most part, yeah.
Barely anything. We need to know that you're not going to try and hunt us down. Like, that's it.
Right.
All we need to know is that you email
Don't
us.
pull,
You set the time and date. We'll show up.
don't pull a Martin Luther on us though. Don't be like, I'm amazing in this area, but I also hate the Jews. Don't do that to us.
Because if we're anything on this show, we are pro-Jew.
Anything pro-Jew.
Pro-Jew. Mostly the whole God's people thing, but there are also some very nice people. Dude, you asked me what I've been doing. I'll tell you this in a second, but I went to a Shabbat. I went to a Jewish Shabbat, man, and it was amazing.
I'm looking for one. I'm actually looking for one here to go to.
And then the next week, this past Tuesday, I went to how to host a Seder class.
Wow,
it was so cool. It was really
that's
great.
awesome.
I'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, so we're gonna go to seasons. We're gonna do fall, probably. I don't know. We'll nail some details down, but it'll probably be, August to mid-November for content, and then we'll take a couple months off into March through May, and then we'll take a few months off, and we're gonna do seasons that way, and maybe in between those seasons we'll have a couple of fall and we'll have a couple of winter and summer specials. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do, and hopefully, my wife and I will be in the UK this summer for like 6 or 8 weeks for a while. And we're going to try and talk to people. And so maybe some of the episodes will be Thomas on one side of the pond, me on the other side of the pond, and being able to interview somebody from the UK or, I don't know, Belfast or, wherever. And then Thomas is going to do some stuff with some farming this summer, some farm guys.
Yeah. People that everyone should know about. Yes, I'll be doing that stuff with
urban farming.
People.
So we'll be able to talk with them.
The urban farming guys.
Yeah. So we'll probably end things right about the 3rd or 4th, towards the end of May, and then take a couple months off, and we'll come back maybe a little bit, rebranded and new episodes and a season format, and it's going to be great. Maybe we'll have a couple bits that we can throw into there.
Oh yeah. Well, I told you I'm doing some. I'm just doing some stuff for myself on just like short videos of just me talking about random stuff.
Right.
So I might have some more like odd topics type stuff.
That'd be cool. Maybe we can have a session where one of us just rants about something that we're angry about, or
excited about. We don't have to be angry about everything.
Excited about it. It's just rants about something we're excited about. Anyway, so this Jewish Shabbat, man, like it was fantastic. Very like we went in. So Sarah went with me. It was for a class project. I had to do a cultural immersion. So Sarah and Hazel came with me. Malachi was at his dad's, and before we went in, we just prayed and we acknowledged that, hey, we're going into a worship service to worship the God that is our God. Like we're going to worship our God.
Pre-chill mode.
Right. So like really like, and I don't want to make any Jewish people mad, but
oh no, they love the fact that they're pre-chill mode.
No, I got that. But like the idea being that that we went in with the understanding that we're going into worship in fullness, like Jesus is present for us in this. The Holy Spirit is present for us in this. God, the triune God is present for us in this. So we show up there, and they had this little in the synagogue. They had prayer or songs for kids. So we all went in there, and the kids got up, and Hazel got to go up there, and we had a little songbook, and we did these fun songs and stuff. And then we came out, and we took Kiddush, I think is called. But we got to do essentially communion. Like we took wine and we blessed the wine, and then we took the wine and then we took bread and we broke bread, and like there's salt on the plate, and they call it challah. So we got the challah fahala, and we blessed the challah, and then we ate that. And
I
then
didn't even know you were. That's so crazy. I didn't even know you were into this stuff, man. Like, I mean, super into it. I'm trying to. Go ahead.
No, I had to go for a class. It was a class project.
Oh,
Cultural immersion. And I called them, and they were like, "Come to a Shabbat. And we have this early bird Shabbat." So we blessed the kids during Kiddush, and then we went in and we had a kosher meal. So there was a meal before, and we drank beer during worship. Like they were like, "Do you want a drink?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't have donation." They were like, come on, man." I was just like, "Yes."
Also, what I'm patterning my church after.
Right. So I drink a Guinness.
I'm going to very sneakily not talk about any really deep theological principles, but I'm going to do a lot of weird ritual stuff that people are like, well, there's beer involved, so this is probably legit. So I expect a full hipster out whenever I actually do plant another church. Yeah.
Sure. Craft beer that's brewed.
Yeah.
But then the whole service, they didn't have a message because the rabbi was gone. But we just sang and prayed, and some of the stuff in there, man, like there were sayings in the prayer book that I would have that I'd heard before, and I was like, oh, this is a secular saying. They're Yiddish sayings. They're sayings that Hebrew people.
It's one of the most. It's the world's oldest active.
Right.
Just saying. You've never bumped into an Amorite, so you don't know like what kind of their sayings are.
Right. No, good point. They kill a lot of Amorites, I think.
Yeah. Actually, so one of the podcasts, and we were talking about earlier in the pre-show stuff we're into. One of the podcasts that I love, I adore actually, is Rob and Caleb, the Rob and Caleb Show, which they just changed to Messianic something or other, right? Or Messiah Matters. They just changed it to Messiah, but it used to be called the Rob and Caleb Show. And I go on their YouTube and I like comment on their YouTube stuff because they have a private channel, or not private, they have a paid for channel where they do their show.
Right.
But I'm cheap, and but I comment and they respond to me on there, which makes me feel really valuable and important as a consumer of their product. But I love them, and I adore their broad perspective of how the Messiah is interweaved in not just Jewish culture, but what happened to Jewish culture over time after Messiah, after the turn of the century, and the weird de-integration or segregation, I guess is the word that means. Mm-hmm. The weird segregation that happened where the church tried to separate itself from Judaism, and Judaism, in response to the church's popularity, tried to separate itself as much as it could from the church. But before that happened, in those first century and a half, 2 centuries, whenever they were working to being commingled and because they are the same thing. Right. Well, and not to offend the Jewish people who don't believe that and the Christian people who don't believe that. I can believe what I want because it's my show.
Right.
Just kidding. We can say whatever we want.
No, yeah.
But we have I absolutely out of the 5 or 6 podcasts that I'm kind of consistently consuming, Rob and Caleb. I'm actually going to take their Hebrew class, not this year because I have to finish this master's.
Is that the one that you were talking about up in Canada?
Yeah, with Torah Resource. Big plug to them. They're those guys are huge influence in my own, because I respect so much this idea that these things matter. Like throughout the Old Testament into the New Testament, we should be paying more attention to the practical meaning behind what God has established through history, right? And I think that the Christian church loses that when we try to say we're not them. And then Judaism actually loses an opportunity, I believe, to grow with, alongside, as a part of this bigger thing that God's doing in the earth. Right. So anyway, big shout out to them. I didn't even know you're into that stuff. But I mean, it's cool that you have to do it for a class. I mean,
I've always been interested. I just never, I don't know. I never had time or took the opportunity. But it was cool. It was I loved it. And
we went to Seder's and did Shabbat down in Florida with our home church, and with there were other couple of people in our a wider network of disciplers that were just messianic people, and so we would go over to their house and do Seder, and it was awesome. I loved it.
So we had a good time, and I don't know, like probably continue to be kind of like participate in the stuff. It's just really great.
Yeah.
And it helped me realize, like, man, do we not know? Like, I know actually one of them was like during the Seder class was like, wow, you really kind of know a lot about some of this stuff. Like, you know a lot about some stuff.
Yeah, being
And I was like,
the oldest active culture,
right.
you get lucky.
I was like, well, full disclosure, I have a master's degree in Christian ministry, and I had to take a couple of Old Testament and church history classes. So I do know some. I don't know as much as I'd like to. And being a part of that and talking with people, I realized how much I don't know. Like, just in.
Yeah.
But even the stuff, like, I sat down with this older lady, and she was talking about the misconception that Jews and Muslims hate each other.
Right.
And she was like, maybe on a national identity level, they do over in the Middle East. She's like,
Right.
but on an individual level, it's not true. It's just not true. They're right on the other side of the fence of the synagogue. There's a neighborhood that's almost exclusively African refugees, Muslim refugees, which I didn't know. And she was like, we teach them English. That, like, we have a sign on the front door that says we love our Muslim neighbors. They're literally our neighbors, and we invite them in once. We invite them in multiple times, but we have a teaching class or an English class where we teach them English. And she was like, get this, the LDS babysits their kids for us because they wanted to partner too. And I was just like,
Awesome.
that is crazy. That's awesome. Where are the Christians?
Yeah.
What are they doing? What are the Christians doing? Nothing. Got it.
No, that's not
No,
true.
that's not true. But they're not partnered in there. But they have other.
They're not partnered with that particular. Or to be fair, they're not partnered with that particular organization. There are a lot of Christian. I mean, we both know, Stephen, our good friend Stephen. That's his life's mission right now, is helping refugees and those in that status.
I'm not saying Christians don't care about refugees.
Yeah, I think we actually had a show about that. I think we.
Yeah. Anyway,
it was a while back. It's like a year ago, whatever. There was chaos.
So and luckily that's died down, minus the 400 people that were murdered in the bombing raids last week. But other than that, the whole thing's kind of a wash.
It seemed to be swept under the. It's like, we solve problems here. That's what we do at the Odd Show.
Got it. Another one checked off. So far that's two. That's racism and the Middle East problem. Done.
Yeah. So we knocked out those.
I mean,
I don't know what we're going to attack next. We're going to run out. We should slow down. We're going to run out of problems to fix.
Right. Pretty big issues. Speaking of problems to fix, you want to talk about gun control?
Okay, so we can't fix everything. I mean, some things are more complicated than racism.
So right before
set the stage for me. Set the stage for.
I'm just going to say this.
What the deal is?
I'm going to say there was a shooting
Yeah. Got it.
Not last week, but the week before, a couple weeks ago. So this is it. This is what we're gonna do. We said before we started recording this episode, we said, hey, let's just hop on. Let's talk for about 20-25 minutes. Let's talk about gun control and the issue surrounding it, school safety, whatever. And then just call it what it is and get off the air, like shut it down, shut the whole thing down. Just shut the whole thing down after we say it. So that way people can
shut it down.
So what we did is we got on and we've been talking for about 10 or 15 minutes about Shabbats and about our fall relaunching. And that's been quite intentional because that only leaves us 10 minutes to talk about something super really important like gun control. And and I think that we only have about 10 minutes worth of stuff to say. So you want me to set it up? Some kids were shot. 17 people were murdered in Florida a few weeks ago, and a kid walked in, pulled a fire alarm, had an AR-15, assault style weapon, quote unquote. I'm using air quotes there. He had an AR-15.
They're just going to say that you're wrong.
Right. So people on both sides are going to be angry that I did that. They're going to be like, it's not an assault style weapon. And the other people are going to be like, why'd you use air quotes? So walked in, shot 17 people, walked out with the evacuating students. And it was, I don't know, like an hour before he was captured. He went and had a soda at Subway and McDonald's. And then he was caught in a neighborhood. He was taken alive and didn't resist, from what I understand. One of the big issues surrounding it is that he was able to walk into a gun store, I think, and buy it legally, even though there had been some police interaction over the previous year. And the FBI had received a report of him saying that he was going to be a professional school shooter and just all that stuff. And everybody missed it. And he went and bought a gun legally. No mental health issues.
No. I don't think everybody missed it. I think nobody did anything about it.
Right. No, and that's what I mean. Like
it was elevated to the proper level, I believe.
To the FBI.
It was not dealt with.
So that's where we're at. And so over the last couple of weeks, there's been these, and I've been involved in some of them, but there's been these big debates over whether or not this is a gun control issue or a mental health issue or a school safety issue or a depravity of man issue. And I would say yes.
It is societal in multiple layers.
It's all of it. And my frustration has been my stance, and this is like, I'm going to say this, and then I'm not going to have anything else to say. I don't think. My stance is, if it's not, or for one, it's not just one of those issues. Like, all of those play a piece, right? If it's not gun control, if they're like, if I will buy your argument that, not your argument, that just in general, the argument that gun control has no bearing on this issue. We don't need to change anything as far as gun control. I'll buy that if you have another answer. Like, and don't tell me that it's a mental health thing and we need to reform mental health, because in this case, he hadn't even been to a mental health anything. There was no indication that he was mentally ill. So even if we reform the system, what? Like what? So, okay, maybe it's a school safety issue. Maybe we have to have metal detectors on doors and make sure all doors are locked, and make sure that I think this is not, I don't agree with this, but arming teachers, but maybe not arming teachers, but maybe armed guards, whatever. Like, I can think of 150 different ways that all of those are counterable. Like, if someone walks in with an AR-15, a metal detector is not going to stop him, because the metal detector is not meant to catch that. Like, a person walking in with an AR-15 doesn't care about a metal detector. Locked doors on a school, super important. Also, if there's multiple shooters that planned it out, all it takes is one kid slipping off during passing period and popping open a door, and in walks his buddy with the bag of guns. Okay, armed teachers. Maybe it's useful, but like, most of them signed up to teach, not be bodyguards and not be a security force. So some of them are going to have problems, but some of them are prior military and they'd be okay carrying. But what happens when a kid gets shot because they think that kid's the shooter, or what happens when when they don't do what they're supposed to, or any number of things happens. So maybe it's a part of the solution, but it's not the solution. So don't tell me that one of these things are gonna fix it by itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, not one of these things are not going to fix it by itself. And our job right now, as far as I'm concerned, because I work in a middle school, I work in a public middle school as the dean. I'm the guy that suspended the guy You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the guy that suspends the student that this kid was. He got expelled for disciplinary actions. I'm the guy that's part of that. You know what I'm saying? So I have a vested interest in making sure that this crap doesn't happen again. Because I look, I did law enforcement for 20 years before, and I was in the military before I was in public education. And I'm more worried about going to school than I was ever worried about walking into a domestic situation. And some people will say, "Oh, it's because you were armed," but that's not it. Maybe that's part of it a little bit, but the reason why I felt safer walking into a domestic violence situation or a felony traffic stop is I knew where the threat was. I knew when I walked into that house, there are guns in this house, and probably in that closet or under that bed or in that kitchen. And I knew where to keep people away from. In public education, you don't know where. You can't say, even if I was armed, I couldn't say that kid's a threat, because kids handle loneliness different. And everyone's like, oh, it's loneliness. The kids, no, maybe part of it, but not like, oh, bullying's the issue. No, it's not. Like, no, like there are kids that are bullied every day that don't kill people. So even if you come up with solutions for that, it doesn't account for depravity of man. It doesn't account for mental illness. It doesn't account for the fact that this healthy, angry kid, mentally healthy but angry kid who wants revenge has access to his dad's AR-15. Like, it doesn't account for that. So don't tell me there's one solution. And that's what I'm sick of. I'm sick of people who are like, it's not a gun control issue. It's not a mental health issue. It's like, yes, it is. All of it is. So figure that out for me. And I am in. I am in. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. Whatever it is, I'm on your side. So,
yeah. Ouch, man. I don't have a whole lot to say. I do not know how to solve this problem. I do not know I don't know the appropriate level of government / personal / rules for society / public education. I don't know at what appropriate level to attack this, right? I just don't. I mean, I assume there are much smarter people that are doing the research and looking at it. On a personal level, all I can really say is my hearts go out to anybody who gets shot and killed. The thousands across this country that have nothing to do with school shootings, just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or whatever. However many people are shot in the nation. My heart goes out to that. The pain and the tragedy that is. That is I agree with you that it is. It's multifaceted. The problem is multifaceted, and the solution is probably going to have to be multifaceted.
Right.
I do not know if we are in a mature enough stage in our democracy. I think 60 years ago, 40 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. But I do not know if we're at a place right now. People are so unwilling to open more than one box at the moment that I just don't know if it's going to be a solve. Like,
right.
I don't think that confiscating everyone's weapons is going to be the answer. I think that's going to lead to difficulty, especially in people are. Well, I won't say that. I'm going to be careful because I love everyone and I want us to all be okay.
So
I think that.
Can you be a Second Amendment guy and still want gun control?
Well, we have gun control. Like, here's my argument.
Well, right.
We control weapons in this society. We have strict rules about what is and isn't okay as far as gun ownership goes. Now, how well that's enforced, how well it is known and understood, and how well we deal with the consequences of that. I think that is in my mind, that's where the gray area is. But we have a level of gun control, and what they're asking, what one side of this argument is asking for is a higher level of gun control.
Okay, but that's my question is, understanding that we have gun control. We obviously have gun control. You can't be 15 and go buy a gun unless you go to a gun show and they don't care. But
I've been to a gun show and that's not true.
it's on Facebook. It's got to be. I saw a video.
Okay. My dad goes to a gun show probably once a month.
Right.
My dad has more weapons than I've ever seen in my life.
I was being sarcastic, but
I thought it was funny.
We have gun control.
Right.
Can you be Second Amendment and be on the side where we need more common sense gun control? That's the argument. We need more common sense gun control. We need
I think
banning.
so.
I mean, I just watched the video with Trump telling Mike Pence across the table, where Mike Pence is like, "Hey, if something comes out that you have a mental illness condition that should require your guns be taken, then due process occurs, and then we take your guns from you after due process happens." And Trump tells him, "No, why can't we just take the guns first? Like we take the guns without due process and then do due process, because that takes a long time and we can't risk that." Like, so Trump just said, take people's guns without warrant.
I think it's very easy. It's very easy to lose me when your argument is Trump just said.
No, I agree with you.
But I just don't think that Trump. I don't think it's a position when Trump says it. I think it's an idea. He has less of a filter than other people.
No. I agree that next week. I agree.
He communicates things, and then eventually he's like, "Wait, well, when I communicated that, I was thinking, but really I feel, or really I believe, or really we will."
I know next week he's going to be like, "That's ridiculous. We would never take guns without going to court. In fact, I need to hire somebody from my family to be the gun czar," and he's gonna that's how that's going to go.
Oh, geez. So if the question you're asking is, can you be Second Amendment? Can you be pro Second Amendment and also pro a stricter version of gun control than we have?
All right.
Sure, I think so. I think that's not unreasonable. I think it's missing the argument that the other side. So I'm not on either side of this, right? Like I don't. Right. I already stated I don't know the answer. I don't know the solve to this. I don't know other people that care more passionately about their version of the truth in this conversation are going to come up with a solve, or at least come up with a plan that makes sense and that people buy into.
Right.
I see agendas more than I see genuine concern and addressing the issue. That's what I see typically.
You know what my agenda is? You want to know what my agenda is?
Less dead kids, I'm going to guess.
I don't want to get shot.
That's a sure.
That's my agenda.
It's a good agenda.
Help me figure that out.
Well, I mean, you've done pretty good so far.
No, well, yeah.
It doesn't work out that way for everybody.
I mean,
it doesn't work out that way for everybody.
I have survived 100% of the shootings we have not had. So,
right. I'm not. I think that people want to have an argument about it because they want to prove the other side is either discompassionate or
functional.
What's the opposite of what's it? Unintelligent. Like they want to say, one side wants to say you don't care about dead kids, and the other side wants to say you don't care about individual freedom.
Right.
And that's a weird fight to me to be the primary focus of this conversation.
Right.
Like, are there steps that we could take that would have prevented this? I would hope that somebody's looking at that and saying, okay, if we had done this, he would not have had any access to the weapon, or had this been dealt with at the appropriate law enforcement level, he would not have been anywhere near this school, or
well, heck,
whatever.
I mean, maybe the cops going in when they should have might have stopped that many people from being shot.
But I'm saying I don't know.
Right.
I'm hoping somebody's looking at that as opposed to, well, if we don't have guns, people won't get killed by guns. Not true. And,
I mean, you could say that's true. I lived in Japan, and it's pretty close to true.
You're right. Japan is an entirely
I'm
different
not,
society
and I'm not
built
saying
on
I'm
200
not saying that
years.
we.
I'm,
I'm
I'm,
not
I'm, I'm trying to build out. I get the idea, right? But
right.
I think that's doing the same thing. You're making some assumptions about our society that do not equate, right? We are not Japan, right? We never had a feudal system that lasted thousands of years. We've never had a level of
But what is that?
control and
What does that have to do with? I mean, I get the level of control, but like honestly, like they're a first world country, and if it works for them to say that it absolutely would, and I'm not that guy. I'm not saying that we should take away all guns. I am not that guy. I'm a Second Amendment guy. You should own guns. But I'm just saying to quell that argument with that would never work because we're different than Japan. Why? Like they're first world, we're first world. Technology, education. They're actually smarter in the education area. I have some thoughts on that, but I mean,
that's fair. No, that's a completely fair question.
but I mean,
Here's the
like,
deal.
so
You're saying that America, a 250-year-old country,
mhm.
right? Could in the way our society has developed in that 250 years and the way we approach law, culture, language, diversity, homogenism, like all of these things that have a role and that play a role in how our society works, democracy, courts, all of that. That we before we even had this conversation, we were talking about school, like education, all of that. You're saying that they're comparable in that what works in one society would work in this society. I think that
No,
that's
no, I'm
not.
not.
I think that's a misunderstanding of how society works.
I'm not saying that it would necessarily, but I'm saying to shut that argument down because it does work in other society, like it does work in other societies that are not. I mean, lots of things translate between societies. Like lots of things translate. Um,
Like what?
um, I,
Public transportation. No, I'm trying. I'm saying
like
there are
just
differences. Yeah, and it's a conversation that's probably broader than this, but I don't think comparing. I think that that's also missing the point of addressing this as a problem in our society, and then how do we solve it? What is the? I agree with you that you can't throw anything out the window and say nothing will work. Nothing can be done. We can't save kids' lives. I disagree with that. I think that there's something that can be done. There's some level of interaction, whether it be local, federal, whatever. At the educator level, there's something that can be done. I don't know what it is. Don't know the answer. I think that whenever you start kind of, it's an apples to oranges thing when you start to say, well, this worked in Australia that has roughly the population of what, New Jersey. You know what I mean? Or this worked in Japan where the entire culture is nothing, like there's no reflective of, oh, okay, this culture works this way. This society is built on these principles, these ideas. And American society is built on a certain
right.
set of principles, good or bad. And I think that there's a good argument to be made that some of those principles are bad or some of those principles are unhealthy and have not evolved with the development, the outgrow of our society, right? Our society has outgrown maybe some of those principles, and that's something worth looking at. But to say that we could work like China, or we could work like our closest our closest society would be the UK. And I don't think that even that is a stretch to say we could work like the UK because America's 350,000 or 50,000, geez, in a city maybe, 350 million people,
Right.
right? That have like this kind of perspective that is the culture. And so I think you're right in the beginning completely that it is multifaceted. The problem's multifaceted and the solution is going to have to it's going to have to attack several layers of what the problem was here. It
Right.
is here because it's not like it was the problem in this one situation. You could compare this situation to the last 6 school shootings and say, hey, there's some common themes here. What can we do to start looking at the best way to address this. I think saying I don't think we could be Japan. You know, I don't think Japan could be us. I don't
No.
think, and not that they want to be, or not that we want to be. I think we want less dead kids, and I think that's noble. And it's to me, I'm almost tempted every time to say we have a gun problem in the sense that lots of people get killed by guns. We have a much bigger gun problem than we have a school shooting problem when you look at proportionality of how many people were killed by guns this week compared to how many school shootings there were. Now, all of them unacceptable, but one of them consistent and not addressed and not even really acknowledged because it makes one part of the argument fall apart. And there's a narrative there that people have an agenda for. But we have a gun problem in a very specific setting, right? And then we have a school shooting problem on a national level because it's always tragic whenever multiple children die at a single time. But we actually have there's a broader societal problem which guns are a part of. Guns are definitely a part of that broader society, but also mental health and definitely poverty and definitely family structures and definitely there's a lot of stuff going on there. Right. And I honestly do not know how to solve it. I feel like that people are so quick to make it about the thing that they're upset about and don't like. And really, the agenda drives it more than the desire to solve it. I believe that anyway. When I see the arguments that happen between people, that's what I see. That it becomes an emotional appeal to that guns are evil and they destroy people's lives, or an emotional appeal to this country was built on these freedoms that matter more than your emotions. But those are both emotional appeals to me. Like. And I feel like it's very easy to get caught up in that. And I try the best I can to distance myself from it because if there is a solve, right? If the solve is to become like Japan and nobody gets a gun, you know, I think like some people have a gun. I mean, obviously somebody has a gun in Japan, but if that's the solve, if that's how we have no school shootings and of the 350 million people in this country, the voting public says that's the way to do it. You know, I may disagree with it on principle, but if that's what we vote for, then that's what we vote for, and we'll see the consequence of that. I personally don't think that is a rational. I don't think it's rational in the sense that I don't think the public is going to go for it.
Sure.
I think it's not interpreting the society we live in correctly. Right.
Well, mostly we need to be prepared for Red Dawn. So.
For what?
For Red Dawn.
Yeah. Oh, well, the Wolverines.
Yeah.
Wolverines! Wakanda forever. That's how I feel.
I'm not allowed to say that.
Oh, you can't say it.
I don't think I can say Wakanda forever.
There are a lot of white Africans, I believe. I believe that there are many white Africans. I have not seen them. They have not popped up in the social media blitzkrieg.
Aren't they South African? A lot of white South Africans.
Sure. Sure, why not? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never been to Africa.
That was the whole apartheid thing.
Is that what Invictus is about? Didn't watch that movie.
I didn't. No, that was a soccer movie, wasn't it? Invictus.
I
don't know. I think Matt Damon was in it.
Matt Damon's a white African, I believe.
Talk about whitewashing a movie.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We can't. I don't know if we get too far into race, we're going to lose some of the broader argument. Speaking of race,
real quick, I took Sarah got me one of the Ancestry DNA things, so I just did that for my birthday. So I'll find out what I really am.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
Did you 24? Is it 25andMe or what's it called?
Oh no, I did want to do that one, but it was like $250 or something like that.
Oh, you found the cheaper one?
Ancestry.com.
You're gonna come back as part elk.
Hey,
you can't go to the discount. You can't go.
I mean, that way I can be like, look, I'm native to this country. I mean,
you can't go to the discount DNA store.
I think you can.
They send you this radiological isotope.
Yeah,
and they're like, just brush this against your face.
You just stick it in your tongue for a little bit, and then you spit it.
This doesn't sound like a good idea.
They
I
were
don't know.
like,
I don't know how accurate.
they were like, don't take this test around kids or pregnant women. So
I don't think that's anyway. I don't know how to solve it, man. I feel horrible
we're not going to solve
that this happens in our. Yeah, I feel really bad, and I hope that that cooler heads will prevail, and we will do something. I don't see that. I don't see that conversation happening. I see a different conversation happening.
I am grateful for the fact that that Facebook is not the platform that we use to actually decide this stuff, though, because.
Oh yeah. But I think Facebook is interesting that it shows the polarity.
Although I am worried that Congress is not more efficient than Facebook, so.
I think it's going to be interesting whenever Congress is Facebook, when that generation starts running for public office, which is like probably 4 years away. Yeah, we're probably 4 years away from that generation having some influence in the entire political landscape. So that is going to be interesting.
That's funny.
And we will evolve. I believe that we are not unbeknownst to many, I believe in this society. I believe in the core of what America means, which is individual freedom and individual liberty is the most sacred and needfully protected thing in the world. Now, the responsibility that comes along with that, I believe, is not taught in our society in the way it was in the past, and that's where some disconnect is for me. Sure. But I believe that we will grow through this horrible experience like we do every other horrible experience. Like I think that in the beginning there was not an argument to be made. It was accepted that slavery was probably a good idea. Eventually, an argument could be made, slavery probably not a good idea. And today, in a progressive society that grows and matures, we say, you know what, slavery, 100% bad idea. and that's not, and anyone who argues against that's like, well, in some cases, those people are dismissed right away. You don't like, oh, okay, well, let's sit down and listen to what they have to say.
Right.
And I think that's
you don't get a voice. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have a voice on the internet, but that's where we end it. Like we don't go.
Oh no!
You don't get to.
I mean, in real places, you don't get a voice.
Yeah. You don't get to. You don't sit at the table and have this conversation. And I feel like we'll do that with this. I feel like this is a fairly new phenomenon in our society. We've had guns in our society for a very long time. And the changes and cultural I don't know the word, cultural landscape milieu. Yeah, the cultural influences we have today are different, and we're going to have to figure out how to navigate this and how to best solve this as a endemic problem to our society at multiple levels, which I agree with you entirely. It is a gun problem. It is a mental health problem. It is a public education problem. It is a safety problem. It is an individual, personal, what the heck is with people problem. And man, each of those need to be addressed and answered at some level.
Right. Okay.
And also as a Christian, just for like, I don't know if we haven't said anything Christian in this whole episode.
Oh yeah.
Christians should probably respond to this with
grace,
what level of spiritual insight they have, and obviously pray, obviously care,
right.
Show some compassion, dignity, and restraint if you don't have those things.
Right.
Show restraint if you don't have compassion and dignity, or mutual
self-control.
Respect.
I think the Bible calls it self-control.
Control. Yeah.
Self-control.
And, but Christians, like, I think that there's an appropriate response for Christians to have. As a Christian, spiritually, I think that there are major spiritual issues going on, and we are not answering those with the appropriate biblical response. I think, in my opinion.
Right.
I
would agree with you, and I was going to say something, but then I thought of all my friends that are Christians and would be mad at me. So
That's fair.
Anyway, I don't want to get texts from people that don't watch the show and happened upon the last 3 minutes of this one. Anyway, no, yeah, we're right. Hey, just figure it out. Congress, figure it out.
Yeah,
President.
I'm giving this one back to society. The ball's in society's court. I can't fix this one. So
Also-
can you guys do something about it?
Also, if you're a douchebag that's going to shoot up a school, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Take
other. Don't shoot up people in general. Please stop doing that.
Yeah. Take a walk instead.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a depressed teenager, I would say I didn't know I was depressed, but I was looking back. You know what I spent a lot of my time doing as a teenager?
Listening to music.
Yeah, but I go to yes, obviously all teenagers do that.
Right.
But I would go to I did my own laundry, and we didn't have a washer and dryer in my house. I grew up poor, and the laundromat was a block away from my house, and so I would walk over there to get all my clothes together. Walk up to have like $2 in quarters. Walk over to the laundromat, do my laundry, and sit there and read, or listen to music on my cassette player at the time, and then a CD player eventually.
Oh, Discman.
And yeah, my Discman, my Walkman, and that really, you know, as a depressed teenager, I brooded with my thoughts, but I also thought it out. Like, oh, okay, well, I want to do this with my life. I want to, you know, here's marriage, and here's these other things in front of me, and I'm not going to say I was prone to shooting up a school. Probably wasn't, but definitely prone to depression and outlandish need for attention and all that stuff, right?
So you were a teenager.
But I worked it out with laundry. Yeah, I worked it out with laundry. So I'm going to say I could probably solve some of the problem by doing your own laundry.
What's that guy's name? Clean your room. Just clean your room.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a little bit more emphatic about it, but yeah, clean your room.
What's his name?
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan B. Peterson.
Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the show. We would love to know what you think.
Interesting show.
Unless you think that you're going to argue with us, because we're not going to argue with you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I do want to argue about some things, not this one.
Right. So just figure it out, please. And so that's the show.
Get back to us.
I know that didn't help anything or add to the conversation in any helpful way.
If you think you've got the smoking bullet, please.
No.
Or smoking gun. Silver bullet.
Also, poor choice of words.
Smoking bullet, silver gun. Is that not how it goes?
Yeah, no, that's the wrong saying, but also bad pun.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way.
No, yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about in general.
I heard it. If I heard it, everybody heard it. All three people heard it. Me.
Okay. Well, edit that out in post, please.
Oh no, I'm not. I don't edit crap. So that's the show. Thanks, guys. We'd love for you to share it, for your opinions, to hear what you think, and we'll catch you next week. Stay odd.
Stay odd.
Checking out The Odd Show. You can follow Bruce on Twitter at bpags2 and Thomas at BlenderZen. Remember to rate and review us on iTunes and share us with your friends. Until next time, stay odd.